Real GDP. Lagging indicator. It's the economy, stupid. An IncomeLuxe.com lesson. Real gross domestic product, also known as, it's the economy. But really though, it is the economy. Real gross domestic product is the total of economic productivity after eliminating all double or triple counting and adjusting for inflation, so it's not trash. Ignore inflation included nominal GDP, always look at inflation adjusted real GDP. They even gave it the real for you. There's some real OGs. When real GDP increases, the economy has expanded. When real GDP decreases, the economy has contracted. Note that I said has, and not is. By the time real GDP comes out, all the trash we've described in all the other indicators has already happened. You're late. That's why this is the ultimate lagging indicator. By the time this comes out, we already know what it's going to be if we're tracking our leading and coincident indicators. Smart money uses lead indicators to predict GDP and stock markets. Dumb money chases returns. You're looking at real GDP to come out higher if your leading indicators said the economy was growing. You're looking for real GDP to fall off a cliff if you see leading indicators and coincident indicators all falling. When looking at real GDP, you should be focused on the change. Real GDP growth reads and measures the actual change in real GDP. It's a percentage number. Usually, people don't read the big number that GDP actually was, they just say it grew by 3% or whatever. That's real GDP change. If positive, it's positive real GDP growth. If negative, it's negative GDP growth or contraction. An IncomeLuxe.com lesson. Let's talk about debt cycles. Seriously, again? Sorry, but I'll make it quick. If you know what I'm about to say, I've done my job. Pay me. I take Lambos, ace of spades, and private dances in VIP. Thanks. When interest rates and debt levels are low, borrowing drives spending and investment, spending creates profits, profits create returns for reinvestment. Wages are paid, hiring is expanded, and wages rising create spending. Spending creates the reward for productivity, so productivity rises. Real GDP expands. Since profits and productivity are both rising, stock markets skyrocket. Get it? See? That was quick. When interest rates and debt levels are too high, borrowing slows because it costs too much. Spending falls, investment falls, profits disappear, reinvestment disappears. Wages fall as a result, and layoffs and unemployment rise. Productivity falls, sometimes heavily. Real GDP contracts. Since profits and productivity are both dying, stock markets fall off a cliff. Now we've avoided math because but here's the actual GDP formula. GDP equals consumer spending plus government spending plus investment plus net exports. Net exports are exports minus imports. That's the formula. Real gross domestic product, our GDP, change versus previous. As real GDP rises, stock markets rise, and bond prices fall due to interest rate hike risk. As real GDP falls, the stock markets fall. Bonds prices rise since interest rates likely to be lowered. As real GDP rises, inflation typically rises. As real GDP growth rises, inflation typically accelerates due to increased spending driving up prices. As real GDP falls, inflation falls, so disinflation or deflation occurs. As real GDP growth falls, inflation slows, so disinflation or deflation occurs. If real GDP growth is very high, the economy is likely to have interest rate hikes since interest rate risk follows growth. If real GDP growth is shallow, the economy is likely to have interest rate cuts to increase and jumpstart economic growth. An IncomeLuxe.com lesson summary. Real GDP is inflation-adjusted GDP. GDP growth is the change in GDP. GDP equals consumer plus government spending, investment, net exports. GDP is driven by debt cycles. Lower rates, more spending and investing, accelerating GDP growth. Higher rates, less spending and investing, so slowing GDP growth. This lesson is provided free of charge by IncomeLuxe.com. IncomeLuxe is a financial social club for those who want more. We introduce you to over 140 online income streams. We also provide 150 investment, finance, economic, and business lessons for social club and website members. Members get paid commissions for anyone they refer who buys a monthly, quarterly, or annual subscription. To learn more, join us at IncomeLuxe.com or Skool.com/IncomeLuxe.